new.
Yeah, my name is Stewart-Starks. I'm with Iraq Veterans Against the War. I'm the Plains Regional Coordinator. I'm also working on a campaign with the organization called Operation Recovery, where I serve as outreach team lead. So essentially we are out here today to support Bradley Manning and a call for his release.
Why do you think Bradley Manning is important?
Bradley Manning is very important. His case serves to exhibit basically how the military treats its soldiers. Its soldiers are not getting the proper care, not only medically, but also in a situation like this where we're detaining him for over a year without a trial and denying him due process of the law. So it's something that veterans are opposed to. I think most veterans would be opposed to the idea that their rights are being taken away from them.
Why do you think the U.S. government has treated him the way it has?
I think that he is a political prisoner, essentially because of the idea that if there were more Bradley Mannings out there, more people that would stand up against illegal orders and things like this, we would see a lot of veterans coming forward with that information. That is very dangerous to the policies that we are pursuing overseas in places like Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya. And it would be important for our military on a political level to quell that type of activity. It isn't right, though. To deny someone their rights flies in the face of our process here in the United States, and it should not be acceptable for a free people to accept that our defenders of liberty are essentially denied those rights that are granted to them in the Constitution.
Some people think that Bradley Manning cooperated with WikiLeaks, or allegedly cooperated with WikiLeaks because he's gay and he hated the military policy of don't ask, don't tell. What do you think about that?
Well, I know that he was opposed to that policy. Obviously, he is gay and serving in the military. He was also open about that. So obviously, that makes a little bit of sense. I do not believe or advocate for the fact that he was upset about that policy and that's why he lashed out. I think that he knew what he was getting himself into when he joined the service, and those were kind of the rules at play at the time. So to think that, I don't think he would have even joined the service if he was so opposed. I think it was. I think there were other reasons why he came out with this information, because he was just doing the right thing.
And Obama has already said that Manning is guilty of breaking the law. So how can he possibly get a fair trial in that regard?
Absolutely, and that is the question of the day. When the commander-in-chief subverts the process of law, I think that it's important for the American people to recognize that and also put the president in his place. His place is not to make those decisions about any individual, and it's a poor president to go forward with, where the president is making those decisions about people. I know that the president has done many things to ramp up security, or what they think is security for the country, including assassination of American citizens, and obviously in this case indefinite detention. So these are policies that the American people have to ask themselves: are these appropriate policies? Should we continue these policies? And on top of everything, should we be imposing these policies on the very people who are fighting to preserve the liberties that we profess to have in this country? Yeah.
The PBS Frontline published Bradley Manning's Facebook wall and showed that he was an active part of gay political movements, groups, and whatnot. And do you think that how do you think that played to the public's perception of him, that information about him being gay and his activities?
How does that play?
Yeah, into the perception of the...
I think that oftentimes in the media, the media will sometimes frame an argument based on factors of people's personal lives. I think, like I said, I think that Bradley Manning released this information out of a sense of consciousness, and that the things that he was doing on his own free time were not threatening anyone in the military. They were not, obviously joining a group in the military, you can do so, So we shouldn't be getting into the particulars of his private life unless they were exhibited on the base in a very overt fashion. I don't think that he was marching around the base protesting for gay rights in the military. I think that he was a professional service member, or he is, and that he conducted himself as such. And so we should hold him to that standard instead of some of this extra. I think that some of this extra stuff is just inappropriate.
Say he gets a trial. Just hypothetically speaking, would they use that, his political activity and evidence of that on his Facebook wall?
Right.
In his trial?
I think they try. I think that it is. I think it's used to be a divisive tool. I think that they understand the fight for don't ask, don't tell repeal, and I don't think that they want people to really look at the core issue here, and that he's releasing information that is important to explain to the American people what our policy is like. Is not a policy that our country should support, and they're using these alternative information to kind of frame him in a way where he will get bad public support. We're building public support around him in many ways, and this would be a detriment to that if they can pull out some of these things from other areas. Yeah.
There have been some reports that Bradley Manning was mentally unstable or something and never should have been trusted with classified information, apparently. Do you think his mental health perhaps played a factor in what he did? Or what he allegedly did?
Okay, well, first of all, we should ask ourselves, why do we have service members dealing with trauma in the first place, and why are they not being taken care of? So maybe the start of this should have started there. And why are we deploying those individuals into combat situations to compound their stress? So these things should have been discussed. He has officers who take care of him. He has enlisted individuals who take care of him, and they need to be supporting their soldiers, and they need to be identifying these issues. I can't speak to that particular reason, but I think that essentially, we're starting at the wrong place here. We need to start looking at the policies in place that would have these gentlemen and women committed to fighting in wars abroad when they're having their own issues here at home.
And can you please tell me a little bit about Operation Recovery?
Okay, and I think Operation Recovery does just that. It exposes our leaders in the military who are making these decisions on behalf of our medical professionals who have advised not to deploy these soldiers, and it is very important that people follow the medical advice of trained specialists instead of people promoted up the ranks to fight war. I don't think that puts them in a position to gauge the level of treatment that the individual would need. So oftentimes we're being deployed in isolated situations. We're seeing people committing suicide on a record scale. It has a lot to do with these policies where we've continued to deploy soldiers against their will.
Cool. Anything else you want to add about maybe what's going on with Operation Recovery
Yeah,
this summer?
absolutely. So this summer, Operation Recovery has announced our target, General Campbell. Outside of Fort Hood, we have assembled a small army of soldiers and vets who will do outreach outside that base and get public support around that campaign. And essentially, we're just announcing that we need to stop the deployment of traumatized troops with PTSD, traumatic brain injury, and military sexual trauma. And stop the deployment of these troops into combat zones where they're unable to cope with these issues. And why have we not supported these soldiers, and why do we continue these policies? And asking that of those base commanders, and asking them why they continue to pursue this policy of deploying our wounded soldiers.
New.